Pablo Iglesias.
Good morning, guys. I feel really good here with you. I have to apologize because I arrived late. I was in Wall Street. And it's not difficult to say I feel better now. Normally I don't used to read things, but today I want to say many things, so I'm going to read. Dear friends, it's an honor for me to speak here at this university, in this city, and in this country. Some of the people who fear that we will win the next elections in Spain say many terrible things about us. Now they say, why are you going to the USA if you don't even like the USA? And so I want to begin my speech by showing my admiration for the people of this country. Often people speak of the hands that built America, the hands of immigrants from many different countries all over the world. There still remains something of them in this city, and I deeply admire that unique spirit of different people joining hands to build something new. I admire the strength of the Chicago workers in 1886, claimed the right to an 8-hour workday. The press called them crazy, just as they still call those who defend the working class today. How can I not admire that same United States working class? How can I not be moved listening to Bruce Springsteen sing The River? I also admire the words of some of the presidents of this country, like those of Abraham Lincoln, who said in his Gettysburg Address that a government is a government if it is of the people, by the people, and for the people. We too say the same thing in our country. I admire those cultural geniuses who held the banner of freedom high and resisted the persecution of Senator McCarthy, Dalton Trumbo, Bertolt Brecht, or brave men such as Frank Sinatra or Humphrey Bogart. As a Spaniard, I haven't forgotten the generosity of Americans, many of them people of faith, who in 1936 and afterwards welcomed and helped Spanish exiles who came to this country with nothing. This country is also great because of his athletes. How can I not admire Tommy Smith and John Carlos, who with their fists raised the dignity of African Americans in 1968? How can I not admire LeBron James and his teammates who showed their full support to Trevor Martin, a teen killed for being an African American and for wearing just a hood? How can I not admire a country that gave birth to Rosa Parks, who showed that dignity is disobedience? How can I not admire a country that gave birth to Angela Davis, to Harvey Milk? How can I not admire a country that has given birth to so many freedom fighters? I'm very happy to be in the United States with you. But today I'm here to speak to you about Podemos, to speak to you of how it's possible that a political force like us, born just 1 year ago, is now ready to take the government in Spain and to win the elections. To be able to speak to you about this, I first need to speak to you about the financial crisis and austerity policies. If the economic crisis has served for anything, I think it has been to make a classist political plan whose origin began in the 70s, visible to the public. That global plan put the financial powers at the top of the pyramid of world order, A billionaire, Warren Buffett, clearly expressed the success of this political plan when he openly said that a class struggle exists and it's my class that is winning this struggle. Shortly after being elected president of the United States, Bill Clinton, I read this story in a David Harvey book. Bill Clinton met with his team of economists that alerted him to the urgency of reducing the public deficit to calm down the bond markets. Clinton said something like this: "Do you mean to say that the success of the economic program and my re-election possibility depend on the Federal Reserve and a handful of bond traders?" Yes, that's the way power works in the States and in the world. The financial powers represent the supreme Soviet of global political power. They are above president and above parliaments. They are what David Harvey calls the party of Wall Street. It's like the Third International, but the international of the global powers. This party represents those living in the attic of the economic system. It's the same party that favored the subprime mortgages in the United States that served to evict millions of Americans from their homes. It's the party in which Angela Merkel serves. She's a militant of the Wall Street Party, the party that controls the European Central Bank, the party that controls the European Commission and the IMF, and the same party that yesterday made the plans for a structural adjustment in peripheral countries. It was the party that designed the Maastricht Treaty in my Europe, in my country. The party of Wall Street also has officials in Spain who go from being of the boards of large companies to council of ministers and vice versa. We call member of this party the caste, la casta. Seguramente los españoles que estáis aquí habéis escuchado esta palabra muchas veces. Do you remember how this crisis began? It all started in 2006 with the increase of evictions in poor neighborhoods in a few USA cities. In late 2007, more than 2 million Americans had lost their homes, and another 4 million were about to. Several mortgage companies went bankrupt as a result of falling real estate prices, and the chain reaction began. Banks, aware of this situation, stopped lending money to households and businesses. The USA economy, which was no longer based on production but rather on finance, witnessed private debt go up to 3 times its gross national product, GNP. In this context of criminal irresponsibility, the rating agencies, now known worldwide, who were paid by the owners of the assets to be evaluated, lied over and over again and maintained the credibility of a model that would crush the weak. The credit rating agencies lied, and so did the IMF, who always praised the vitality of the financial system, and in 2007 even said that the Eurozone area was prepared for a period of growth. And finally, the USA banking system collapsed and ceased to perform its functions as a credit provider. And the crisis arrived in Europe. A few months later, millions of people lost their jobs. They were evicted from their homes because they couldn't afford to pay their mortgages. And the public wealth and the public health and education systems were dismantled, were destroyed by austerity programs that put to rest what was known now as the welfare state in Europe. The burden of the banking crisis was transferred to individual citizens. To deal with an unprecedented national debt, the people of the peripheral European countries has to accept the austerity measures and budget cuts in public services. At the end of the day, they had lived beyond their means. The phrase that sums up the political agenda of the financial powers would be rescue the banks and give the bill to the people. The identity of the Eurozone as a reserve of social rights ended. The crisis has finally created a Europe of a North creditor, South debtor, that established a division of labor controlled by the rich countries. The South must specialize in products and services with a strong demand for labor, but with low salaries. What have governments in Southern Europe, such as Greece, Portugal, or Spain, done to emerge from the crisis? Austerity policies. They reduced the salaries of public workers and in turn favored the condition for all salaries to be reduced. They carry out labor reforms to lower severance pay, raise taxes on basic necessities, protected the banks, and privatize everything. They reduce pension and raise the retirement age. They raise the price of medication and degrade healthcare. These austerity policies have not only created great suffering among the people of Europe, but have also proved quite ineffective. They have not served to solve the three major European issues: debt, unemployment, and domestic inequality. On the contrary, these issues become worse. In my country, for instance, unemployment levels are unacceptable. Debt has increased from just over 30% to almost 100% of our GDP. Almost half of the employed earn less than 1,000 euros per month, and I assure you that it's quite difficult to live for a family in Spain with just 1,000 euros per month. There are shocking levels of poverty and malnutrition among children in my country. Those who have governed until now have not only provoked pain, but they have failed. And probably Podemos is the result of this failure. While all of this has been happening, the number of millionaires in Spain has increased, of course. In a situation of social emergency, the government rules in favor of a rich minority and against the weak people. What can we do? What can we do? We stand for a national plan in a new social Europe. We must carry out a debt restructuring to adjust the debt to social justice criteria and legitimacy. We must make the European Central Bank stop working for the banks and instead help government to fulfill their obligation to protect their citizens. We must create a public banking system to ensure investment and credit for households and small and medium-sized companies. Public ownership must be extended to certain key areas of the economy, such as energy, transport, utilities, and other strategic sectors. We must begin a process of reindustrialization through public investment, for which we need to adapt the education system by reinforcing access to primary and secondary education and the quality of vocational training, universities and high-level research centers. Thanks to this investment, productivity, which is always associated with wage, will increase. We must also perform a tax reform that will redistribute tax and end the fraud of great fortunes and impose more pressure on the privileged. As a result, the supply of public funding for public health and housing will improve. We must fight tax havens. In order to accomplish all of this, a political change is necessary in Spain and in Europe. I think that this democratic change is underway. I know that they are not going to make it easy for us, but if there is anything the people of Spain have shown to us, is that we can do it. Es que podemos. Thank you very much.